The alarm bells rang across the Zephyrian Empire's border station. Commander Vextal jumped from his chair as red lights flashed on every screen. His 6 eyes focused on the main display, trying to understand what the sensors were telling him. "Report," he shouted to his crew. "Sir, we have an unknown object appearing in Sector 7, replied his sensor officer. "It just showed up out of nowhere. No warp signature, no energy trail, nothing." Vextal's mandibles clicked together nervously. In his 20 years of service, nothing just appeared in space. Everything followed the laws of physics. Ships used known jump points or left energy traces when they moved faster than light. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen changed to show a section of empty space. At first, Vextal saw nothing. Then the computer highlighted a dark shape against the stars. It looked like a ship, but unlike any design in their databases. "Analysis?" Vextal asked. "The ship is approximately 800 meters long," the sensor officer reported. "Hull appears to be some kind of metal alloy we cannot identify. It has weapons, but we cannot tell what type. The strangest thing is the energy signature, sir." "What about it?" "It is very weak, almost primitive. But our deep scans cannot penetrate the hull. Something is blocking our sensors." Vextal studied the strange vessel. Its design was angular and rough, like someone had built it for war rather than beauty. Scars covered its hull, suggesting it had seen many battles. But who could have fought it? And where did it come from? "Try to contact them," Vextal ordered. "Use standard first contact protocols." The communications officer worked at his station for several minutes. "No response, sir. They are receiving our signals, but they are not answering." This was unusual. Most species responded to first contact attempts, even if only to tell the Empire to go away. Silence was often a sign of either fear or aggression. "Alert Fleet Command," Vextal decided, "and send a message to Admiral Kexathara. She handles first contact situations." While they waited for the Admiral's response, Vextal kept watching the unknown ship. It just sat there in space, not moving, not responding. Its weapons were not powered up, but something about it made his skin crawl. Admiral Kexathara arrived 6 hours later with a small fleet. Her flagship, the Imperial cruiser Star's Pride, was joined by 2 destroyers and 4 escort vessels. It was standard procedure for dealing with unknown ships that might be hostile. Kexathara was old for a Zephyrian, her blue skin marked with the silver lines that showed age and wisdom. She had handled first contact with 17 different species during her career. Some had been friendly, others hostile, but all had been predictable. "Show me this mystery ship," she said as soon as she arrived on the bridge. The sensor data flowed across her command displays. Kexathara studied the readings with growing confusion. The ship's technology seemed both primitive and advanced at the same time. Its hull was thick and heavily armored, but it used old-style chemical rockets
for maneuvering.
Yet somehow their most advanced sensors could not see inside it. "Have we tried the universal translator?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral. We have broadcast greetings in 200 languages, including mathematical sequences and pictographs." Still no response. Kexathara made her decision. "Move the fleet to standard first contact formation. If they will not talk, we will make them talk." The 7 Imperial ships arranged themselves in a circle around the unknown vessel. It was an old tactic, designed to show strength while offering the option of peaceful surrender. Most species understood the message and opened communications, rather than face the Empire's military might. The unknown ship did not respond. "This is Admiral Kexathara of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You have entered Imperial space without permission. Identify yourself immediately or we will consider you hostile." Still nothing. Kexathara waited 10 minutes, then ordered her ships to move closer. The formation tightened around the mystery vessel like a closing fist. Weapon systems powered up, painting the unknown ship with targeting lasers. That was when everything changed. The unknown ship suddenly came alive. Lights appeared along its hull and its engines glowed with a strange blue fire. Most surprising of all, it spoke. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Defiant. came a voice in perfect Zephyrian. You have 30 seconds to withdraw your vessels before I consider this a hostile act. The bridge fell silent. Kexathera stared at the communications display in shock. The voice was clearly alien, but the speaker had learned their language perfectly. That should have been impossible. It took years of study to speak Zephyrian without an accent. How do they know our language? Whispered the communications officer. Unknown, Kexathera replied. But her mind was already working. Any species that could learn languages that quickly was either very intelligent or had been watching the Empire for a long time. She opened a channel. I am Admiral Kexathera. You are in Imperial space. State your business here. My business is surviving, came the reply. We got lost and ended up here by accident. We do not want trouble, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. Lost? Kexathera almost laughed. From where? Our charts show no inhabited systems within 100 light years. Your charts are incomplete, Admiral. There is a lot more to the galaxy than your Empire knows. The calm confidence in the alien voice made Kexathera nervous. Most species were either frightened or angry when faced with Imperial fleet power. This Captain Chen sounded almost bored, like being surrounded by 7 warships was a normal Tuesday. Yuki, we'll submit to boarding and inspection, Kexathera ordered. Resistance will be met with force. I think not, Chen replied. You attacked us first by surrounding us with armed ships. That makes this self-defense. We have not fired on you. Yet. But you have taken a hostile position and made threats. Where I come from, that is enough. Kexathera felt her patience running out. You are 1 ship against 7. Surrender now and you will be treated with respect. I appreciate the offer, Admiral, but I have to decline. You see, where my people come from, we learned a long time ago that running away just means you die tired. The unknown ship began to move. It was not trying to escape. Instead, it was turning to face Kexathera's flagship directly. Last warning, Chen's voice came across the comm. Stand down your weapons and withdraw to a safe distance. I will not ask again. Kexathera looked around her bridge. Her officers were waiting for orders, but she could see doubt in their eyes. This was not how first contact usually went. Strange ships did not make demands of Imperial fleets. Admiral, her weapons officer asked quietly. Kexathera made her choice. No alien ship would threaten the Empire no matter how confident its captain sounded. Fire a warning shot across their bow, she ordered. Let them see what our weapons can do. The plasma cannon on the Imperial flagship charged with a deep humming sound. The weapon was designed to disable enemy ships without destroying them completely. It was perfect for dealing with stubborn aliens who needed to learn respect for Imperial power. Firing warning shot, announced the weapons officer. A bright blue bolt of superheated plasma streaked across space toward the human ship. The bridge crew watched with satisfaction as the energy blast approached its target. They expected to see the unknown vessel's shields flare and fail, leaving it helpless and ready to surrender. Instead, something impossible happened. The plasma bolt simply vanished. One moment it was racing toward the human ship, the next it was gone. Not absorbed, not deflected, just gone. What happened? Admiral Kexathera demanded. Her weapons officer stared at his instruments in confusion. I do not understand, Admiral. The bolt just disappeared 20 meters from their hull. Sensor error? No, ma'am. All systems show normal operation. The plasma bolt was there. Then it was not. On the view screen, the human ship had not moved. It sat in space exactly as before, showing no signs of damage or stress. Worse, it seemed to be ignoring them completely. Try again, Kexathera ordered. Full power this time. Admiral, if we use full power, we might destroy them. Then they should have surrendered when they had the chance. The second plasma bolt was 3 times stronger than the first. It contained enough energy to punch through the armor of most known warships. The bridge crew watched as the brilliant energy beam raced toward its target. This time they saw what happened. Just before the plasma reached the human ship, dozens of small beams lanced out from hidden weapons on its hull. The defensive fire struck the plasma bolt and broke it apart like light hitting a prism. The deadly energy scattered harmlessly into space. "Point defense systems," whispered the tactical officer. "But I have never seen anything that fast or accurate." Admiral Kexathera felt a cold chill run down her spine. The human ship had just demonstrated defensive capabilities far beyond anything in Imperial databases. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened next. The human ship moved. It did not accelerate like normal vessels. One moment it was sitting still in space. The next it was moving at impossible speed directly toward the Imperial formation. Its engines left no exhaust trail, made no sound that sensors could detect. It just moved. "Evasive action," Kexathera shouted. Her fleet scattered like frightened fish. 7 powerful warships, each crewed by the Empire's finest warriors, ran from a single alien vessel. But running was not enough. The human ship did not pursue them. Instead, it stopped in the center of where their formation had been and opened fire. The weapons that emerged from the human vessel were unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. No energy beams, no plasma bolts, no missiles. Instead, solid, metal projectiles launched from hidden ports at incredible speed. The projectiles moved so fast that sensors barely detected them before impact. They struck the destroyer Swift Revenge along its port side, punching completely through its armor like it was made of paper. The ship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against solid matter moving at such velocity. Swift Revenge lost main power and began spinning out of control. "Return fire," Kexathera ordered. "All ships concentrate fire on the unknown vessel." 6 Imperial warships turned their weapons on the human ship. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion missiles filled space with deadly energy. It was enough firepower to level a small city. None of it reached the target. The human ship moved through the barrage like it was dancing. Its acceleration defied physics as they understood it. It would suddenly change direction without slowing, down or stop completely while enemy fire passed harmlessly by. When energy beams did get close, the point defense systems destroyed them. But the human ship was not just avoiding their attacks. It was studying them. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair aboard the UES Defiant, watching the alien weapons fire with professional interest. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rodriguez, was feeding data to the ship's combat computer. "Analysis complete, Captain," Rodriguez reported. "Their weapons are powerful but slow, energy-based, mostly plasma and particle beams. No kinetic weapons detected. Defensive capabilities? Standard energy shields but no armor worth mentioning. Their ships are built for fighting other energy weapon users." Chen nodded. It was what she had expected. These aliens fought like most species did, with bright, flashy weapons that looked impressive but had serious limitations. They had probably never faced an enemy that used different tactics. "They made their choice," Chen said quietly. "Light them up." The Defiant had been built to fight the Void Hunters, enemies that consumed entire star systems. Every weapon, every system, every piece of armor had been designed with one goal: survival against impossible odds. The ship was not just a warship, it was a survivor. The railguns opened fire first. Tungsten projectiles launched at 30% of light speed struck the escort vessel Star Dancer before its crew even knew they were under attack. The first round penetrated the ship's forward shields and punched through 6 decks. The second round hit the engine compartment and turned it into expanding plasma. Star Dancer broke apart in a brilliant explosion. The remaining Imperial ships tried to retreat, but the human vessel was faster. It caught the escort Knight's edge as it tried to escape and fired a single shot into its reactor core. The ship simply ceased to exist. Admiral Kexathara watched her fleet die with growing horror. In 5 minutes of combat, she had lost 3 ships and gained nothing. Her remaining vessels were badly damaged and running low on ammunition. The human ship showed no signs of damage at all. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "the unknown vessel is hailing us." "Put them through." Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional. "Admiral Kexathera, you have lost 3 ships and several hundred crew members. I suggest you withdraw the rest of your fleet before I am forced to destroy them as well." "You attacked Imperial vessels," Kexathera replied angrily. That is an act of war. No, Admiral. You surrounded my ship with armed vessels and opened fire. First, that is an act of war. What I did was self-defense. Self-defense? You destroyed 3 of my ships. You fired first, Chen repeated patiently. I warned you what would happen. You chose not to listen. Kexathera looked around her damaged bridge. Half her instruments were offline, and she could see fear in her crew's eyes. They had never faced an enemy like this before. What do you want? She asked finally. To be left alone, Chen replied. We did not come here to fight your empire. We came here because we had nowhere else to go. But if you insist on treating us as enemies, we will respond accordingly. You are 1 ship against the entire Imperial fleet. Admiral, you just lost 3 ships to 1 vessel. How many more are you willing to lose before you realize this is not a fight you can win? The question hung in space between them. Kexathara knew the answer, but her pride would not let her admit it. She was an Imperial admiral. She did not retreat from primitive aliens. But as she looked at the wreckage of her ships floating in space, she realized that maybe these aliens were not as primitive as they appeared. The news of Admiral Kexathara's defeat reached the Imperial capital within hours. Emergency meetings were called as reports flooded in about the unknown ship that had destroyed 3 Imperial vessels without taking any damage itself. Emperor Thexis sat on his crystal throne, reading the battle reports with growing disbelief. His forearms moved restlessly as he processed the information. In 3,000 years of Imperial expansion, no single enemy vessel had ever achieved such a decisive victory against the Imperial fleet. Tell me again how this happened, he commanded his military advisors. General Kexmar, head of Imperial Fleet Operations, stood nervously before the throne. His normally perfect uniform was wrinkled from hours of emergency meetings. Your Majesty, the unknown vessel demonstrated technological capabilities far beyond our current understanding. Their defensive systems completely neutralized our plasma weapons, and their offensive capabilities penetrated our shields like they did not exist. 1 ship? The Emperor asked. Yes, Your Majesty. 1 ship, crew unknown, origin unknown. And they claim to be lost? According to Admiral Kexathera's report, the alien captain said they ended up in our space by accident. They stated they do not wish to fight the Empire. Emperor Thexis considered this. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 47 star systems and absorbed 23 different species. They had never encountered a single ship that could threaten their military supremacy. What do we know about these aliens? Very little, Your Majesty. They call themselves humans and their ship is designated UES Defiant. The captain identified herself as Sarah Chen. Beyond that, we have only tactical data from the engagement, which tells us what? General Kexmar consulted his tablet. Their technology appears to be based on kinetic weapons and advanced materials science. Their ship showed incredible acceleration and maneuverability. Most concerning, they seem to have detailed knowledge of our language and military protocols. How is that possible? Unknown, Your Majesty. Either they have been observing us for a long time, or they possess learning capabilities far beyond our own. The Emperor stood and began pacing. His advisors remained silent, knowing better than to interrupt his thoughts. Finally, he stopped and faced them. Send Battle Group Tertius to deal with this threat. If 1 ship can defeat Admiral Kexthera's squadron, we will send enough ships to overwhelm them completely. Your Majesty, General Kexmar said carefully. Battle Group Tertius consists of 12 capital ships and 40 escort vessels. Are you certain such force is necessary against a single enemy? General, this single enemy just humiliated the Imperial fleet. I will not allow that to happen again. Send everything necessary to ensure victory. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Defiant, Captain Sarah Chen was dealing with her own problems. Her ship had been running for 3 years, fighting a desperate war against an enemy that consumed entire civilizations. When they had activated the experimental faster-than-light drive to escape their final battle, they had hoped to find safety. Instead, they had found another empire that shot first and asked questions later. Status report, Chen requested as she entered the bridge. All systems functioning normally, Captain. reported her executive officer, Commander Jackson. Minor drain on the railgun capacitors from the engagement, but we are back to full charge. Casualties? None. Their weapons could not penetrate our armor. Chen nodded. The Defiant had been built to survive against the Void Hunters, enemies that used weapons capable of destroying planets. Imperial plasma cannons were powerful, but they were nothing compared to what her ship had been designed to endure. Any word from the aliens? No direct communication, but our sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout their territory. Looks like they are mobilizing for a major operation. Directed at us? Most likely, Captain. Signal intercepts suggest they are assembling something called Battle Group Tertius. Chen sighed. She had hoped that defeating one small fleet would convince the aliens to leave them alone. Instead, it seemed to have made things worse. How many ships in this battle group? Lieutenant Rodriguez worked at his console for several minutes. Based on communication intercepts and sensor data, approximately 50 vessels. 12 appear to be capital ships similar to the flagship we encountered. 50 ships, Chen repeated quietly. They really do not like losing. Orders, Captain? Chen stared at the tactical display showing the approaching fleet. Her ship was fast and well-armed, but 50-to-1 odds were extreme even by Void Hunter standards. She could run, but where would they go? They were lost in unknown space with limited supplies. Send a message to the fleet commander, she decided. Maybe we can avoid unnecessary bloodshed. What should the message say? Tell them, we are not their enemies. Explain that we ended up here by accident and only want safe passage to neutral space. Offer to share some basic technology in exchange for star charts and supplies. Rodriguez looked doubtful. Captain, after what happened to their first fleet, I do not think they are in a negotiating mood. Probably not, but we have to try. I did not spend 3 years fighting the Void Hunters just to start another war with different aliens. The message was sent, transmitted on all Imperial frequencies with mathematical proof of peaceful intent. Chen waited 6 hours for a response before accepting that diplomacy had failed. They are not interested in talking, Jackson observed. No, they are not, Chen agreed. Looks like they want to settle this the hard way. 50 ships, Captain. Even the Defiant has limits. Chen studied the approaching fleet on her tactical screens. Battle Group Tertius was indeed impressive, led by the dreadnought Eternal Glory. The massive ship was twice the size of anything they had faced before, armed with weapons that could probably crack a moon. But size was not everything. The Void Hunters had taught her that lesson repeatedly. You remember the Kepler engagement? She asked Jackson. How could I forget? 16 Void Hunter cruisers against just us. Everyone said it was impossible. And what did we learn that day? Jackson smiled grimly. That impossible just means nobody has figured out how to do it yet. Exactly. Begin combat preparations. Load the railguns with armor-piercing rounds and spin up the point defense grid. If they want to fight, we will give them one they will never forget. What is the plan, Captain? Chen looked at the enemy fleet disposition one more time. 50 ships, arranged in standard Imperial formation, designed to overwhelm enemies through sheer firepower. It was exactly the kind of predictable thinking that had allowed humanity to survive against superior numbers for so long. We are going to teach them the first rule of human warfare, she said, which is, never fight fair if you can help it. The crew of the Defiant began their preparations with the calm efficiency of veterans who had faced impossible odds before. They had learned their trade in the hardest school imaginable, fighting an enemy that gave no quarter and accepted no surrender. Now, they would show these Imperial aliens what that education had cost, and what it had taught them about survival. Battle Group Tertius arrived at the coordinates like an approaching storm. 52 Imperial warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the power of the greatest military force the Zephyrian Empire had ever assembled. Admiral Rexthor commanded the fleet from the bridge of the dreadnought, Eternal Glory. He was younger than Kexathera but had earned his position through decisive victories against 3 different alien species. The Emperor had chosen him specifically because he was known for overwhelming enemy forces quickly and efficiently. Sensor report, Rex Thor ordered as his fleet settled into battle formation. Single contact bearing 27 Mark IV, his tactical officer reported. Same energy signature as the vessel that defeated Admiral Kexathera's squadron. Just one ship? Rex Thor asked. They did not call for reinforcements? No additional contacts detected, Admiral. It appears to be the same vessel, alone. Rex Thor studied the tactical display with growing confusion. He had expected to find a fleet of unknown ships, or at least some evidence of where this mysterious enemy had come from. Instead, there was just one small warship sitting quietly in space. Are they trying to surrender? He wondered aloud. No communications detected, Admiral. They are just sitting there. Well, they will not be sitting there much longer. Signal the fleet to assume attack formation Omega. I want that ship surrounded and destroyed before it can escape. The Imperial. Fleet began to move, 52 ships arranging themselves in a perfect sphere around the human vessel. It was a formation designed to prevent any possible escape route while bringing maximum firepower to bear on a single target. Aboard the Defiant, Captain Chen watched the enemy deployment with professional interest. The Imperial formation was exactly what she had expected. Overwhelming force applied in the most direct way possible. They really like their formations, Commander Jackson observed. Makes them predictable, Chen replied. Any response to our peace offer? Nothing, Captain. I think they have made their decision. Chen nodded. She had hoped diplomacy might work, but some species only understood strength. The Void Hunters had been the same way. Battle stations, she ordered. All hands prepare for combat. The crew of the Defiant moved to their positions with calm efficiency. They had fought this kind of battle before, outnumbered and surrounded by enemies who thought victory was guaranteed. They had learned that the key to survival was not matching enemy firepower, but making the enemy's advantages work against them. Railgun status? Chen asked. All 6 guns loaded and ready, replied Lieutenant Rodriguez. Armor-piercing rounds locked and loaded. Point defense grid? Online and tracking. We have firing solutions on 47 enemy vessels. Reactor output? 110% of normal. Engineering says we can maintain emergency power for 30 minutes if needed. Chen studied the tactical display one final time. 52 enemy ships in perfect formation, all focused on destroying her vessel. It was exactly where she wanted them. Signal from the enemy fleet, the communications officer reported. Put it through. Admiral Rex Thor's face appeared on the main screen. He was younger than Admiral Kexathera, with the confident expression of someone who had never faced defeat. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Rex Thor of Battle Group Tertius. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Admiral Rex Thor, Chen replied calmly. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Defiant. You are making the same mistake your colleague made. I suggest you reconsider. I have 52 ships to your 1. The outcome is not in question. No, Chen agreed. It is not. But I do not think you understand what the outcome will be. Rex Thor laughed. Captain Chen, I have studied the reports from Admiral Kexathera's engagement. Your ship is impressive, but you cannot fight an entire battle group. Admiral, 3 years ago my people faced an enemy that consumed entire star systems. We were outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1, outgunned beyond measure, and completely surrounded. Do you know what we did? What? We won. Rex Thor's expression changed, from confidence to uncertainty. There was something in the human captain's voice that suggested she was not bluffing. Last chance, Captain Chen. Surrender now. Last chance, Admiral Rex Thor. Withdraw your fleet. The communication ended. Both commanders had made their positions clear. Open fire, Rex Thor ordered. All ships concentrate firepower on the unknown vessel. I want it destroyed completely. 52 Imperial warships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the Defiant filled with plasma bolts, particle beams, and fusion missiles. It was enough destructive power to level a continent. None of it reached the target. The Defiant moved like liquid lightning, accelerating in directions that should have been impossible. Its point defense systems created a wall of intercepting fire that destroyed incoming missiles and deflected energy beams. When direct hits seemed unavoidable, the ship simply was not there anymore. But the human vessel was not just avoiding enemy fire. It was using the Imperial fleet's own formation against them. Captain Chen had noticed that the enemy ships were arranged in a perfect sphere, with overlapping fields of fire designed to prevent escape. It was an excellent formation for trapping an enemy, but it had one critical weakness. The ships were all pointing their weapons inward. "Execute Maneuver 7, Chen ordered. The Defiant suddenly accelerated directly toward the dreadnought Eternal Glory. The massive Imperial flagship opened fire with everything it had, but the human ship was moving too fast and unpredictably for effective targeting. At the last moment, the Defiant changed direction and swept along the outer edge of the Imperial formation. As it moved, its railguns fired in rapid sequence. The tungsten projectiles struck 6 Imperial ships in the space of 10 seconds. The first escort vessel, Starwalker, took a direct hit to its engine compartment and exploded. The second, Night Hunter, lost its entire forward section and began spinning out of control. The third, fourth, and fifth ships suffered catastrophic hull breaches and went dark. The sixth ship, the heavy cruiser Iron Fist, took a railgun round directly through its bridge. Admiral Rexthor watched in horror as one of his most powerful vessels simply stopped responding to commands. But the worst part was what happened next. As the Imperial ships tried to track the human vessel, they began firing on each other. Ships on opposite sides of the formation found themselves shooting past the Defiant and hitting their own allies. "Cease fire," Rexthor shouted. All ships, cease fire, but the damage was already done. 7 Imperial vessels had been destroyed or disabled, and 3 more were damaged by friendly fire. The human ship had barely been scratched. "How?" Rexthor whispered. "How is this possible?" His tactical officer looked up from his instruments with fear in his eyes. "Admiral, their ship is not just faster than ours. It is faster than our targeting computers. Our weapons cannot lock onto something that moves like that." Rexthor stared at the tactical display. The human vessel had stopped moving and was sitting quietly in space again, apparently waiting for the Imperial fleet to make its next move. "Communications from the unknown vessel," his communications officer reported. "Put them through." Captain Chen's face appeared on screen again. She looked completely calm, as if destroying 7 warships was routine business. "Admiral Rexthor, you have now lost 7 ships. I suggest you withdraw the remainder of your fleet before the situation gets worse." "Worse?" Rexthor could not believe what he was hearing. "You think you can defeat my entire battle group? Admiral, I just demonstrated that your ships cannot even hit mine, while mine can destroy yours at will. What do you think will happen if this continues?" Rexthor looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at their instruments in shock and fear. They had never seen anything like the human ship's performance. "What are you?" he asked quietly. "We are the survivors," Chen replied. "We are what is left of a species that refused to give up even when giving up was the smart thing to do. We are what happens when you fight the impossible and win." The Battle of Kepler's Edge ended 14 minutes after it began. When the shooting stopped, Battle Group Tertius had been reduced from 52 ships to 17 barely functioning vessels. The dreadnought Eternal Glory drifted powerless. In space, its bridge crew traumatized by weapons that turned their own shields into fragments of deadly metal. Admiral Rexthor sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed the wreckage of his fleet. 7 ships completely destroyed, 28 disabled beyond repair, and the rest damaged so badly they would need months of work to become battle-ready again. All by one human ship that had not even used its full capabilities. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it through," Rexthor replied. His voice sounded hollow and defeated. Captain Sarah Chen appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Rexthor could see the bridge of the human ship. It looked normal, almost peaceful. No alarms, no damage displays, no signs that they had just fought against impossible odds. "Admiral Rexthor," Chen said, "I want to make something clear. We did not come here to fight your empire. We came here because we had nowhere else to go. Then, why did you attack us? Rexthor asked. You attacked us first, Admiral. Both times. We offered to negotiate, to share technology, even to leave your space entirely. Your response was to send bigger fleets with more guns. Rexthor knew she was right, but his pride would not let him admit it. You destroyed Imperial vessels that cannot go unanswered. Admiral, look around your bridge. Look at your fleet. How many more ships are you willing to lose before you realize this is not a fight you can win? The question hung in space between them. Rexthor looked at his surviving officers, saw the fear and confusion in their eyes. They had been trained to fight aliens with known capabilities, using predictable tactics. The human ship was something completely outside their experience. What do you want? He asked finally. Safe passage out of your territory. Star charts showing the locations of neutral space. Basic supplies for our journey. In exchange, we will leave and never return. That is all? That is all, Admiral. We are not conquerors, we are refugees. Rexthor considered this. The human ship had demonstrated the ability to destroy his entire fleet if it chose to. The fact that they were offering to leave peacefully was more mercy than the Empire usually showed to defeated enemies. I will need to contact the Emperor, he said. Of course, but Admiral, make sure he understands the situation clearly. We fought the Void Hunters for 8 years. We held the line when every strategic computer said we should surrender. We saved our people when our homeworld burned. And we did it all while being outnumbered, outgunned, and written off as dead. The Void Hunters? Rexthor felt his blood turn cold. Every spacefaring species had heard legends of the Void Hunters, ancient enemies that consumed entire civilizations. But they were myths, stories told to frighten children. You have heard of them, Chen observed. Good. Then you understand why one ship was able to defeat your fleet. We learned our tactics fighting an enemy that makes your empire look like children, playing with toys. The communication ended, leaving Rexthor alone with his thoughts and his crippled fleet. 3 days later, Emperor Thexazolan sat in his private chambers, reading reports that made no sense. The humans had not just defeated 2 Imperial fleets, they had done it without suffering any significant damage themselves. More disturbing still, they claimed to be refugees from a war against the legendary Void Hunters. Send for Admiral Kexthara, he ordered his aide. I want to speak with someone who has actually faced these humans in combat. Admiral Kexthara arrived within an hour, still recovering from the injuries she had suffered during her encounter with the human ship. She moved carefully as she entered the Emperor's presence, her left arm still supported by medical braces. Your Majesty, she said, bowing as low as her injuries allowed. Admiral, tell me about these humans. Not the official reports, but what you actually observed. Kexthara considered her words carefully. Your Majesty, in 30 years of military service, I have never encountered anything like them. Their ship moves in ways that should be impossible. Their weapons penetrate our best defenses like they do not exist. But most importantly, they fight like beings who have nothing left to lose. What do you mean? When most species face overwhelming odds, they either surrender or flee. The humans did neither. They attacked knowing they were outnumbered. They fought with the calm efficiency of professionals who have faced worse situations and survived. The Emperor stood and walked to the great window that overlooked his capital city. Millions of Zephyrians lived below, protected by the might of the Imperial fleet, a fleet that had just proven inadequate against a single alien ship. Do you believe their story about the Void Hunters? I believe they have fought someone, Your Majesty. Their ship bears the scars of many battles, and their crew moves with the precision that only comes from surviving repeated combat. Whether it was the Void Hunters or some other enemy, they have clearly seen war. And they claim to be refugees? Yes, Your Majesty. Captain Chen said they ended up in our space by accident while fleeing from a lost war. They asked only for safe passage and supplies. The Emperor turned back to his admiral. What would you recommend? Give them what they want, Your Majesty. These humans have demonstrated they can destroy our fleets at will. If they wanted to conquer us, they could have done so already. The fact that they are asking for peaceful passage suggests they really do just want to leave. But the damage to Imperial prestige will be far worse if we continue fighting and losing, Your Majesty. Better to let them go quietly than to have the entire galaxy see the Empire defeated by a single ship. The Emperor considered this advice for a long time. Everything in his nature rebelled against letting aliens dictate terms to the Empire. But the reports were clear. The humans were not bluffing about their capabilities. Send a message to this Captain Chen, he decided. Tell her the Empire accepts her proposal, safe passage and supplies in exchange for their immediate departure from Imperial space. Yes, Your Majesty. But Admiral, there is one more thing I want from them. Your Majesty, I want to know what they were running from. If the Void Hunters are real, if they are truly as dangerous as the legends claim, then the galaxy needs to know. The meeting was arranged for the next day. Captain Chen agreed to come aboard Admiral Kexathera's flagship under flag of truce. The human captain arrived in a small shuttle that was as unremarkable as her ship was extraordinary. Chen herself was similarly understated. She looked like any other humanoid alien, bipedal and mammalian, with no obvious signs of superiority. But her eyes held something that made experienced warriors uncomfortable, the weight of losses too great to measure. Captain Chen, Admiral Kexathera said as they met in the conference room, the Emperor has agreed to your terms. You will receive star charts, supplies, and safe passage out of Imperial space. I appreciate that, Admiral, but I suspect there is more to this meeting. The Emperor wants to know about the Void Hunters. Are they real? Are they coming? Chen was quiet for a long moment, staring out the viewport at the stars. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with memory. The Void Hunters are real, Admiral. They have been consuming civilizations for thousands of years, moving from galaxy to galaxy like a plague. They found our galaxy 8 years ago. What happened? What always happens when they arrive? Entire species vanished overnight. Worlds stripped of all life. Solar systems left as empty space where thriving civilizations had existed for millennia. But, you fought them? We tried. The whole galaxy tried. But the Void Hunters do not fight wars the way we understand them. They do not want territory or resources. They want everything. Every living thing, every piece of technology, every trace that intelligent life ever existed. Admiral Kexathera felt a chill run down her spine. And you escaped? Some of us. A few ships from different species, carrying refugees and whatever knowledge we could save. We scattered in different directions, hoping some of us would find safety in other galaxies. How many survived? We do not know. The Defiant lost contact with the other refugee ships months ago. We might be the only ones left. The conference room fell silent. Admiral Kexathera stared at the human captain, trying to imagine the kind of war that could destroy an entire galaxy. Captain Chen, she said finally, if the Void Hunters followed you here, then your empire needs to start preparing for the fight of its existence, Chen replied. And Admiral, you need to understand something. We did not win against the Void Hunters. Nobody wins against the Void Hunters. We just held the line long enough for some people to escape. How long do we have? Chen looked out at the stars again, her expression unreadable. That depends on whether they followed our trail through the jump. If they did, you might have years. If they did not, you might have centuries. But they will come eventually. They always do, Admiral. They always do.